Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Welcome to another special edition of TNC of the Nico Chronicles live from the North Jersey studios. I am your host, the one, the only Nico Saracino. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the show, not only because it's the show and I appreciate the support, but also because of the fact that we are on a special night. Today is Monday, March 6th, 2017, episode numero 38 of the Nico Chronicles. Normally, as you guys know, or for those of you who are just new to the show, TNC normally broadcasted live Thursday evenings, 9 p.m. We're here 9 p.m. Monday, March 6th, 2017. Another edition. Thank you guys again for tuning in. 701-801-2251 if you guys want to listen. The phone number, you can listen to the stream on my Wix page or visit facebook.com/The Nico Chronicles. That is where you'll find the link. Be sure to like my page on Facebook. You'll be able to watch the video via Facebook Live and be able to watch it as many times as you want. So thank you guys. I should also point out that I decided to get with the times. Before I get into that, in about 10 minutes, we're going to be joined by a very special guest, Greg Dyer of the band Chemradery, the up-and-coming band, the South Florida-based band Chemradery, going to be joining me in about 10 minutes. He's going to talk some biography stuff, if you will, some news about the band, and just talk about life. But before we get to Greg, as I was saying 2 seconds ago, I personally have decided to get with the times and create a YouTube account. I want to say about over the weekend, actually, so 2 or 3 days ago, I created a YouTube account for the Nico Chronicles, which you guys guessed right. I will be posting the videos, the Facebook Live recordings. You can upload those to YouTube, which is a beautiful thing. So I'm debating whether I'm going to put all the old ones up because that's a lot for viewers to handle. But I did put up the previous episode. So episode 37 is now up. I'll be sure to put the link to my YouTube account on my Facebook page so you guys can check that out. Because the video is kind of hidden, I guess, if you don't really know where to look. But the Nico Chronicles TNC is officially on YouTube, which is great. And yeah, from here on out, I will do my best to upload those in conjunction with the Mixcloud. A bit of a delay sometimes because I have to edit it and you know the deal. But I am on YouTube, so that's big. And be sure to share it with your friends and family, etc. Shout out to my parents for tuning in via the Facebook Live as well, by the way. But a lot has gone on since the last time we spoke. It's been about 11 days since episode 37. And I think the biggest story, at least in my opinion, especially in the NBA world, for anyone who's really an NBA fan, you don't really even have to be a Warrior fan for that matter, Kevin Durant, on February 28th against the Washington Wizards, and about the first minute of the game, I believe it was, KD unfortunately suffered a grade 2 sprained MCL. And those are extremely painful. They are common athletic injuries, so to speak, but they're very painful injuries. Initial prognosis was that he could miss potentially the rest of the season, or he could miss a minimum of 4 weeks. And, you know, everyone was fearing the worst, possibly that he can miss the remainder of the season. But it was released, I think on March 1st it was, or a couple days after the injury. It had been released that perhaps the injury was not as severe as predicted after the x-rays. So now they're saying up to 6 weeks recovery. So that would put him back, I think, just in time for the start of the playoffs or towards the end of the regular season. Now, in the grand scheme of it, the Warriors are stacked enough that they won't feel it entirely that much in the regular season, but come the second round of the playoffs, which is when the matchups starting to get a little more competitive. I mean, first round too, but second round normally you generally face a better team. You want him to be healthy, so I would assume they're going to try to limit his minutes even when he returns, of course. But keep an eye out for that. If you look at the standings, the Warriors only have a 2-game lead on the Spurs in the West. Not much. It may even be closer at this point. The Warriors did defeat the Knicks yesterday in a close one at the Garden. That was a fun game. Curry hit a few clutch shots. Klay Thompson did as well. Everyone really pitched in. It looked like the Warriors of last year, because obviously they didn't have KD last year. So I mean, they know what to do. They know how to perform without their superstar. It's going to take an adjustment period, and then when he returns, they got to find a way to make time for him. But nonetheless, I think the Warriors are going to be okay. Of course, they're gonna feel it a little bit. It's perfectly normal when you rely on some guy for so long. But nonetheless, the Warriors they're going to be just fine. So it'll be interesting to see how they can do that without him. And then there's his former teammate, Russell Westbrook. Can you guys believe this guy? I've talked about him a few times on the show. Where are we? We're 60-plus games into the regular season. Granted, there's 82 games in an NBA season. He's averaging 31.7 points per game, 10.6 rebounds per game, and 10 assists every night. That's his average. Now, some haters are going to be like, oh, OKC is currently 7th in the West, 35-28. All right, so that's 63 games into the season. Guys, quite honestly, who do the Oklahoma City Thunder have besides Russell Westbrook and Victor Oladipo? Enes Kanter and Steven Adams, they're great players too, but they're obviously at no caliber of Kevin Durant and Westbrook. They have Roberson, Andre Roberson, is it? So they have a few capable players. It's just the supporting cast I don't think matches up to the intensity of Russell Westbrook, because he's literally an Energizer Bunny. So a lot of people were saying, such as Mark Cuban, well, he was the only one recently, saying that he should not even be considered in the MVP race, which is preposterous, because he believes the team has to win at least 50 games in the regular season. Interesting. In his opinion, it should be James Harden and LeBron James. Those are the top two in his eyes. So I'm curious to see where that matchup's going to unfold, or if the Thunder get on a run, if he changes his stance. I'm sure there's other analysts who feel the same way as Mark Cuban, who, as you guys know, is the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. There's obviously some people who feel that way. It's fine. You're entitled to your opinion, but it just, when you're putting up historic numbers like that, this is like Wilt Chamberlain-like numbers here. And this is modern. I think things are different now. I mean, granted, before there was no three-point shot, but now the players are stronger, faster. You have to take that into account. Stamina's better. Performance is better. They have more, I guess supplements is the right word. Supplements, workout products that kind of help boost recovery and all this stuff. So there's a lot of factors that you have to consider when these stats are put up. So I'm curious to see how it's going to pan out, because this is the final stretch. The regular season ends mid-April, and then first round of the playoffs starts a few days after that. So I'm curious. This is going to be fun. As you guys know, basketball is my favorite sport. I like the way they dribble up and down the court, as Lil Bow Wow says on Like Mike. So regular season, certainly one that's exciting. The Warriors, of course, and then the East. I think the biggest surprise thus far in the Eastern Conference, the Celtics. Although they lost a heartbreaker, they gave up 5 points in the last 3 seconds of the game last night, including a buzzer beater 3 to Tyler Eunice. So that was a tough one. And Isaiah Thomas, their star player, turned it over. So that's a tough pill to swallow. Tough pill to swallow if you're the Boston Celtics there. But they're currently, I believe, in second place in the East. Second place in the East. And looking at the Western Conference, if things hold on that way, the Thunder, who are 7th, would be facing the Spurs. But watch out, because if the Spurs get on the winning streak and the Warriors start losing and they slip into 2, could you guys imagine a Warriors OKC Thunder matchup in the first round? Like, that could quite possibly happen. So, this is one of a million things to think about. One of a million things to think about when it comes to the NBA season. So, for you NBA fans out there, I know I tend to repeat myself, and I apologize. I'm just so passionate about this stuff. So keep an eye out for that. Seriously. But without further ado, guys. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, joining me now is the lead singer and songwriter of Chemradery. He has years upon years of singing experience, which include, but definitely are not limited to, time with the Palm Beach Opera, and as well as that, the 5-man South Florida-based band, they're going to be performing at the prestigious Sunfest, guys. For those of you music buffs, you know what that is. They've also performed at 4th on Flagler and many other venues around Florida. And last but certainly not least, their singles are on the radio, guys. This is an up-and-coming band. Joining me now is the one, the only, Gregory Scott Dyer. Greg, thank you so much for joining me tonight. How you doing?
Hey, what's going on, Nico? How are you, man?
I'm good. It's a beautiful Monday night here in North Jersey, freezing a little bit. But other than that, I'm doing pretty swell. And I guess let's just dive right into it. I mean, I'm just curious. How exactly did you get to this point? Kind of just walk us through how you got to this point in your career because I'm sure it's quite an interesting story.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Okay, great. Yep, gotcha.
Okay, perfect.
I guess that's kind of a tricky question because I came down to Florida originally on a vocal performance scholarship at Palm Beach Atlantic University, and that was specifically for classical music and opera, and that was kind of what I was aspiring to do at that point. We won't talk about how many years ago that was. But I kind of realized very quickly by getting into the opera that you didn't need a degree in order to perform in the opera and in different venues. And of course, a degree from a prestigious, conservatory or university, et cetera, is good. But, kind of the hands-on experience is what, gets you to where you can go. So I was like, well, I did the opera for a couple of years, for, I guess, about 8 seasons. And, after that, I went to school because I was like, well, let me use my opera voice while I'm still doing opera and potentially use that for, radio announcing or something like that. I was really interested in sports broadcasting. So as you know, graduated from SAU with a multimedia journalism degree, interned at ESPN, and kind of did that for a while, but then there was still something kind of missing. One of my good friends, and I'm sure that you know him as well, Alex Patakis, I would see him and I would see how much of a natural he was at sports broadcasting and all that kind of stuff, and I was like, this is not what I'm natural at. This is something that was learned. So I kind of was just like, on a whim, I want to start a band. And
wow.
I used my college degree 100% in the opposite direction and kind of started a band and have taken it from there, really.
Wow, so that kind of leads me to the next idea. What was the process like in forming Chemradery? Because I'm sure there was a lot of planning behind that. How did that brainstorming come about, and how did you decide to kind of develop that whole concept?
Well, when I started another band, I kind of was green to the industry. I had no idea what I was doing. I really didn't even know where to start, but I knew that I could kind of get paid and get gigs by going to local venues, local bars, whatever, and sing cover songs. So I had another band before Chemradery that I had a mutual friend that we did some cover songs with, and it started out as a duo type of thing. We formed this whole band. And did a bunch of cover shows all over South Florida.
Mm.
And then, after, I think that was probably like 2 years of doing that, I was really wanting to do original music because I left opera. I left my FAU college degree and all that kind of stuff. I wanted to create original music, and that was one of my main reasons for, I guess, leaving the opera scene, was because I no longer wanted to just cover other people's work. And I had written songs kind of throughout my life, but I never brought anything to fruition. So I guess it was probably maybe a year and a half to 2 years of that other band that basically I got in contact with our now guitarist, Ivan.
Mm-hmm.
He had seen a video of me just doing a cover on, I think it was Facebook or YouTube or something like that. He had messaged me and was just interested in starting an original project. And we kind of met up, wrote a song, and then we started performing as a duo. And then we started piecing a couple of guys that had played in previous projects with us and other guys that were also in the industry. And, that's kind of where we're at now.
Wow, that's a pretty cool story. I think that kind of just goes to show everybody the power of social media, and you kind of never know who's gonna see these things you put up. It's pretty incredible. How did you come up with the name? That's what I'm curious. Is it like based off of the whole camaraderie and like chemistry kind of concept, or what's the story behind that?
Well, I had in my previous band, I had been trying to the word camaraderie. I like that word.
Yeah.
The fellowship, the brotherhood,
Mm-hmm.
that type of thing. I had always wanted to write a song about camaraderie, and I still haven't written a song about camaraderie. But that word was always sticking around. And basically, when I started writing songs with Ivan, I mean, that was kind of the core, duo behind the whole band and ideas and everything. It was the chemistry and our camaraderie around our songwriting that kind of formed the name. So I was like, well, somebody has to have had, come up with that name so far. And the first thing that I did was Google Chemradery. And there was nothing on the internet about Chemradery. And I was like, okay, well, there it is. Originally, the first name was Chemradery with an IE at the end. We decided to make it a little bit easier because it's not the easiest name for some people to pronounce. But yeah, once we saw that was the only thing on the internet, and we liked kind of the direction of how the meaning behind the word and what it meant, and that just stuck with us ever since.
Wow, that's really cool. So I'm actually pretty proud of myself because that's what I thought it was, and I actually got it right. So I'm very proud of myself that I zooted it. Thank you. So
yeah, we have definitely gotten some interesting pronunciations over the years that we've gotten. I believe one of my favorites was Chemradery. Yeah, I mean, there's handfuls, but that one always stuck with me. I was like, well, that's clever. I guess you're working on your diction with that one, but I mean, yeah, you got it, man.
thank you. Yeah, Chemradery. It sounds like somebody wanted to sound super fancy and kind of switch it to a little like French kind of vibe. I think that's what they were going for there.
Exactly.
Yeah, but who knows? It's pretty funny. But I think once again, congrats are in order for you guys. Officially performing at Sunfest. You guys made the announcement a few weeks ago, so congratulations on that.
Yeah.
And
Appreciate that.
thank you. And I know one of your singles first debuted on 97.9 WRMF down there in Florida, Hard As You Can, and that's a great one. So congratulations on that as well, because that's obviously huge. And so what is the process like for, I guess, the actual application process when it comes to Sunfest? What do you have to provide them? How does that work in order to get into like something as prestigious as that? Because I'm sure there must have been quite a few things you guys had to put together for that, right?
Well, I mean, it was kind of, I guess, a lot of musicians and even a lot of, I want to say, quote-unquote common folk or have been introduced to the it's a website called Reverb Nation, and it's a website where I guess a lot of people can post their music, find out about different venues, events, etc. So basically, for the most part, anybody that is a quote-unquote local posts their music on Reverb Nation, and they really, I mean, you can post, you can submit to opportunities, they call them, all over the country and in some parts all over the world, where they'll take a look at your music, blah, 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 and say yes or no to you, basically.
Wow.
Sunfest was always something that, since I came down here, you know, I go to it every year, and I've always been like, oh, man, I want to perform on that stage, or I want to perform on that stage, blah, blah, blah. But I remember saying, well, actually, I don't remember saying. Somebody reminded me recently. They said, hey, do you remember when we were watching so-and-so from Sunfest, and you said to me, hey, I'm going to perform on that stage one day. So that's kind of always been a goal of mine, at least in the South Florida market, to always do the Sunfest Festival. So basically, long story short, because I'm talking too much, the Reverb Nation was submitted last year. You submit, there's like thousands of people that submit to perform at Sunfest and many other festivals. Last year, we were chosen not to perform, but to go into a battle of bands to see if we could perform. I guess it was like the 5 remaining people with one last time slot, and we actually ended up missing out on the time slot. We lost to an awesome band, the Ethan Parker band, who are our friends. And so we were kind of bummed about that, but we kind of got the hint, you know, like, hey, maybe we might have an opportunity next year because the people that needed to hear us heard us. So this year, we just, it's not really that exciting of a story, but I just opened up an email that said, hey, congratulations, you know, we're inviting you to perform this year at Sunfest on the main stage on Thursday night and open up for Macklemore and Ryan Lewis. And, I mean, while it was exciting for me, it wasn't anything really crazy that we did, I guess, except for write music and keep pushing with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy, though. I mean, I'm sure you would have never thought, I mean, at this point, say, a few years ago, that you would have been opening up for such a big artist like that, Macklemore, and even the rest of, like, I was looking up the lineup the other day. It's like crazy. Blink-182, Snoop Dogg, Tori Kelly, Three Doors Down. That's like a killer lineup you guys are a part of.
For sure, it's definitely. I mean, I would say that total, we're going a little over 2 years. You know, and it's every once in a while you're allowed to pat yourself on the back, but we had a pretty good amount of success in a pretty short amount of time. I mean, not this past December, but the December before that, we were playing on the same stage as Third Eye Blind and Adam Lambert at Meisner Park Amphitheater, and then we've also played with Fuel and Kenny G, and I mean, we've had a host of names that we've been able to play with in a short amount of time. So I mean, it really does kind of feel good to have some validation to how much work you put into it, you know.
Oh, without a doubt. Definitely a lot of fun times for you guys so far. But throughout this process, and I guess like looking back on like the beginning of your career and your roots and everything, if you had to pick one person, who would you say your top inspiration would be for you as a performer and as a singer?
That is a tough question.
I know it opens up the.
That is a tough question.
Yeah, I know.
You know what? No, I wouldn't even necessarily say that it is one specific person. Like, you know, a lot of people probably give answers like, oh, well, my mother was my inspiration, my father. And it's not to say that my mother and my father aren't an inspiration to me. But I think that in terms of, you know, an inspiration to continue to push to do what we do, I think it's a lot of it is, you know, off of the things around us, like things in life. I mean, even just hearing stories about people, you know, when you hear somebody that was homeless or rag to riches type of stuff. It's stuff like that that is the driving force behind it. Really, you have to be, I guess, your own inspiration, and push yourself. You know what I mean? Because people can have mentors and all that kind of stuff, but if you're not pushing yourself and you're relying upon somebody else's inspiration, I don't know if that even answers the question for you, but definitely, I find a lot of inspiration just living life. I mean, even in writing songs, I mean, it's pretty hard for me sometimes to just sit down and write a song about nothing. It's something, for the most part, that I'm connected to. All of the songs that we write, because it's something that I've either felt or went through or seen through somebody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I could tell because I was actually recently jamming to your music, trying to get a little pumped. I was getting pumped for this interview, and it really worked. I saw, for like the millionth time, I've seen these videos a lot, but the Hard As You Can, the For You videos are so like powerful, especially Hard As You Can, that whole story that you're telling there. And it's like that. I think that's a good example of what you're talking about. These simple yet like powerful lessons that you're trying to give off, and it really is. I don't know how else to describe it besides powerful. It really like tugs at the heart. So I give you major credit for that. That's like pretty powerful stuff. Of course. Yeah, sure thing. And before I let you go, Greg, I like to ask a lot of my guests this, but if you could leave people who are looking to get into the music business, the music industry, with a little bit of advice, what piece of advice would you give them to help them succeed and be successful?
Well, I think that one guiding kind of quote that's kind of led me and kind of emboldened me in order to continue to go forward and really not be scared of rejection and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you'll hear, however many quotes about you miss, 100% of the shots that you don't take.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
But I think that the guiding principle that I've kind of used and that I've found to be pretty successful is if you don't ask the question, the answer is always no.
Wow.
Why not? Like if you're, I mean, we've done a lot of this stuff independently. Like we've done radio, yeah, of course it's through connections and networking and all that kind of stuff. And you have to have a product behind it for people to believe in it. But at the same time, there are so many people that are scared and not, they're apprehensive to move forward because they're afraid of rejection and they're afraid of saying no. So I mean, with that whole, if you don't ask the question, the answer is always going to be no. There's also the other part to that, which is like you can hear 1,000 no's, but all you need is one yes. So I mean, just keep on pushing for it. I mean, if it's something that you really want, if it's something that you really feel is a passion of yours, and it's really, that you can work at, I mean, like, just keep pushing for it. Just don't be afraid of rejection. I mean, and don't be complacent.
Absolutely. Those are wise words. Go hard or go home too. I mean, that's also one of my favorite quotes. Ladies and gentlemen, you can catch Chemradery. They're going to be back in South Florida performing March 17th, St. Patty's Day. I believe that's a Friday. They're going to be at the Copper Blues, right, in West Palm Beach, in the City Place area. You can catch them there. Are there any other announcements, any other dates you guys are going to be around in the South Florida area that you want to share with everybody, Greg?
I believe we are also at the Hard Rock in Hollywood on March 30th. I'm the absolute worst with my schedule, so I need to look at that.
Oh, no worries.
What else did I want to say? Yeah, our second single, For You, that we released the video for, that will be on the radio also within, I think, this month or the next month, and then we're also shooting a video for our third single, One Last Time, within the next month or so. So look for that song as well. Again, May 4th, 6 o'clock, Sunfest. We'll be opening up for Macklemore and Ryan Lewis, and we hope to see a bunch of you guys out there.
You heard it here, guys. May 4th, Sunfest. When For You is released, be sure to call WRMF. Request that on repeat. Just keep calling until you get through, and be sure to request it. Greg, thank you so much for coming on TNC. I really appreciate you setting time aside in your schedule, and it's been fun, and good luck with you these upcoming months, and good luck on Sunfest. I'm sure you guys are going to do great.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you having me.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Take care.
Yeah. Thanks so much to Greg Dyer. Gregory Scott Dyer of the up-and-coming band Chemradery, which I give myself a pat on the back because I guessed the correct reason of how they got their name, which I thought was going to be wrong. It's the whole camaraderie, brotherhood, loyalty aspect, and the chemistry, having that team chemistry kind of vibe. So thanks to him for coming on. For those of you wondering, they're kind of a blend, I guess you could say, of pop, rock, and soul. Their music is really compelling stuff. Like, it's that music where if you listen to the lyrics, you're really gonna feel it. It's powerful. It comes from the heart. It's that. I mean, for lack of a better term, it's that soulful music. Quite honestly, at the end of the show, I'm gonna be posting their Facebook page. For those of you tuning in via Facebook Live, I believe you can click the direct link to Chemradery. Or even if you go on Greg's Facebook page, I tagged him as well. That'll be the direct link. That'll lead you to the social media, Twitter, Instagram, etc. Also, www.chemradery.com. You'll get info about where they'll be performing if you're in the Florida area. The Sunfest, also if you're in West Palm Beach. So they've really been growing. As I said, they're playing on 97.9 WRMF in Florida, which is the home of the KVJ show as well. They're on iTunes. 5-6 months ago, they also made it to Spotify, which is huge. So, depending on the playlist, you might be listening to their music. As I said, I'm going to be posting the links to all of that when you guys check that out. But special thanks to him for coming on. And 5-man band, guys. Believe and you can achieve. And don't take no for an answer. Those are really, I think, two morals that Greg strive for amongst the various advice that he offered. So thanks to him for coming on. And before I let you guys go, I find myself doing this quite often. I want to go ahead and jump to the NBA because there's quite a few games going on. It's a busy night in the NBA. Monday night, you wouldn't think, there's about, let's see here, 12 games on the slate for tonight. So that includes 24 out of 32 teams. But interestingly enough, Trailblazers and T-Wolves is postponed due to constant condensation on the floor. Which I don't really know what that means, to be honest with you. Condensation on the courts. It must be coming from underneath the court or something like that. But locally, Nets are losing to the Grizzlies by 4. The Warriors up 10, 104-94 over the Atlanta Hawks. In terms of bigger matchups, the Celtics playing the Clippers tonight at 10:30. And the Heat, interesting, the Heat defeated the Cavaliers 106-98. I believe LeBron did not play tonight. Or he did, excuse me. I had read that he was rumored to sit, but he did play, and they lost. Deion Waiters, 29 points for the Miami Heat, and Kyrie with 32. So, little quick look at the NBA. I want to thank you guys for tuning in on this different night for TNC. For those of you loyal listeners, I was kind of in your ear all the time via social media, via in person. If I saw you, I kind of made sure to say it at least once. So it's kind of like spam, but not really. So yeah, episode 38 on special night. We're going to be back we're going to be taking a bit of a hiatus. Going to be back next Thursday. That would make it the 16th. This Thursday, there will be no episode 39. I will be away in California for a work function, which will be interesting. Anaheim. Looking forward to that, the warmer weather. Going to a trade show, actually, which is going to be fun but busy, so curious to see what that's going to be like. And I might have some surprises in store for you guys these upcoming weeks. Let's just leave it at that. I'm constantly trying to book new guests, of course, for you guys, and just to get, an interesting story, because it's always fun to hear how people got to where they got. I know that sounds really philosophical, really deep, but it's interesting. Everyone's got a different story. Personal stories are like snowflakes, in my opinion. No two of them are identical. And they're also like fingerprints too, I guess you could say, but that doesn't sound as cool. So big guests in store. If I can give you hints, probably the ones we are currently trying to book are in the radio business. So those are you into music and or sports will know who these people are. And most of you will. Anyone in the media industry. So stay tuned for that. But once again, thank you guys for tuning in on this Monday night. I will check in with you guys for episode 39 next Thursday evening at 9 p.m., March 16th. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the rest of your Monday nights. And go get them out there, okay? Have yourselves a fabulous, fabulous rest of the week.